Concussions, obviously a big talking point in sports today, and a big talking point in life in general. And they got a new movie coming out, Will Smith, concussion in the NFL, all the issues with concussions in the NFL and sports, and especially youth sports today as well. Kate Ortman joins me now. She is the founder of Brain Training of Maryland in Howard County, and she helps people who are recovering from concussions. Good to talk with you, Kate. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
How many patients do you see? How big of a problem is this today in America?
Concussion is a huge problem, and after their initial recovery, a lot of people think that there's a new baseline, there's a new normal that they have to live with, that they still have brain fogginess, they have concentration, they're not at their level they were before the concussion. And a lot of people don't even trace it back to that it was the concussion that altered their cognitive ability.
So give us some examples. I mean, how do you figure out you're dealing with people who have already been diagnosed with concussions, right?
For the most part, yes. Okay,
so you've been diagnosed with concussions, and maybe you have some fogginess, and they don't link it back to the concussion. But what are some examples of that they don't realize? That the loss of memory? Is it feeling like you are constantly dizzy? Or give me some examples.
Okay, here are some of the main things that we see with people after they've done the initial recovery, but they're not back to where their baseline was before. Let's say that they have more attentional issues, more emotional regulation, that they have this fogginess that is, especially when they get tired, there's a brain fatigue, there's a brain fog, that they are a little bit flat in how they appear. So all of these things that we can tie back to the concussion. And some of the things that we do at Brain Training is that we can get them back to the baseline. We can get them actually sometimes even further. One of the biggest concussion recovery stories is my own son. He played high school football and he played at the collegiate level also, and he had more than 5 concussions. He had to drop out of college, couldn't pass a class, brain fog, blackouts when he was driving, so he had to stop driving. He now takes a full course load, has an internship, and works part-time. And that's all because of the programs that we do here. So what we did is we helped him have his brain and his body back in sync and be able to function at the rate he was before any of those concussions.
Well, what type of things are you doing in order to get back to that baseline?
There's a lot of new technologies that are out there that are known to drive neuroplasticity, to change the way the brain is functioning. So interactive metronome is a huge program it's a phenomenal program that we use with concussion recovery. It's used a lot by the military for their TBI recoveries. There's a lot of research behind it on how it increases your neurotiming and gets the brain functioning better.
Well, so what is it? I mean, is that like you're putting like electronic stuff up to your head and you're like using that, or are they puzzles, or are they mental challenges? I mean, I don't understand exactly what that is.
Interactive metronome is technology. It's hooked up to your computer. Okay, so you're hearing a metronome beat like you do with music. So there's a metronome beat going on, but it's interactive. So you're hearing and you're seeing whether you're early or late, and how early and how late you are.
Gotcha.
If you can synchronize your body to this beat, and the computer to the millisecond is telling you how accurate you are, your brain is now fine-tuning. It's like a clock that was out of sync that you've got in time now. And so we're trying to get the brain back in time, and that's what interactive metronome does.
So we're learning more and more about the brain every day. I mean, I'm just wondering out loud, and this doesn't have anything to do with concussions, but can you do some of these things even if you don't have a concussion? Can you make yourself smarter? Can you make yourself sharper by doing these exercises?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We have we do concussion recovery, but we have clients coming from all walks of life. Our clients range in age from our youngest client is 4 to clients into their 80s. So we do learning disabilities. We do athletes for peak performance. Everything is about timing. So we do concussion recovery. We also have athletes that want better performance on the field, academics. We have professionals that just want to get an edge. We do auditory processing, dyslexia. So there's other things that we do at brain training, but what we use is modalities that have been known to drive neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. And wherever a person is, we try to get them where they want to be functioning better.
What should you do if you're a parent and you have a child who has a concussion? Well, what's the first thing that you should do, and how long? I guess the more important question is how long before you should allow them to go back to playing sports?
How long it takes is different for each concussion, okay? But what happens is often they go back earlier than they should. And we have had people that do concussion recovery here that have been sometimes up to 20 years past their concussion. So we have done a lot of concussion recovery that is 2-4 years past. So they're back. The initial part that they're getting back onto the field but there's a new normal. They're not at their baseline before they were before. So especially you should certainly take a couple of weeks off, and you've got to be quiet. No screens, no. You don't want to stress your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going back. But if it looks like they are slower than they were, they're complaining about headaches, if light is bothering them, if they're moodier, if their grades seem to be slipping, all of those things, it means that, there may be more going on than originally thought. And the best thing for us is, come in for an evaluation, and we can see some of our programs are only a couple months. Some it takes a couple of years, depending on the severity of what's going on in the brain. A lot of our programs can be done, distant-wise, because we've got some clients that have flown in to see us. So, there's a lot that we can do now that we didn't know about 5 or 10 years ago. And that's the exciting thing.
I'll ask you a personal question. You're a parent of 6, and you talked about your son, Greg, who had 5 concussions and played football. Would you allow, if you do it over again, would you allow your kids to play football? Do you think it is more dangerous than the other sports?
That's a good question. Greg slept with a football when he was a little boy. He loved football. He still loves football. But, I am not as to why football, and is it football that is the big bad guy? We've had also clients come in that have had concussions hitting their heads going into their cars at pickup line at school. In fact, we've had an adult and a child both come from hitting their heads on a car getting into it.
Right.
So, I am not here to judge why the person had a concussion, because there's many, many reasons for a concussion. I certainly don't like people hitting with their heads,
mm-hmm.
Because, our brain is soft.
If somebody is interested, you guys are in Howard County. Where can they find you?
We're in Columbia, right near the Wegmans in Columbia. Our website is braintrainingofmaryland.com, and the map is on there, and a little bit about what we do. My son Greg's story on his concussion recovery is on the website. I suggest people to come in and get an evaluation if they've had a concussion, because sometimes there's more going on than you might think.
Kate Ortman is the founder of Brain Training of Maryland in Columbia, Maryland. You can find her online at braintrainingofmaryland.com. Thanks for your time, Kate. We appreciate it.